what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be bracing all of these 2x4 studs. I'm going to be jacking them up, and then I'm going to slide a new piece of subfloor underneath this outside wall so that we can go ahead and finish drywalling. Well, yeehaw, here we go. Today we're finally going to be finishing up patching the floor from where we had termite damage in this house. After talking to my dad, some friends who have done this kind of work before, and watching plenty of Greg Van Kom videos, I'll go ahead and throw a link up to his channel. He has lots of useful information on doing all kinds of structural things. I've decided to finally get this done. This is a fairly complex fix today, so do this at your own risk. I'm not a professional, I'm just a DIY guy who wanted to save some money by doing this myself, so there's your warning. I've had this hole in my floor for a long time, so if you need to do this fix, you might have to make your own. Putting that minor detail aside, the process is fairly simple. Just tie your wall together to keep it structurally sound, and then press on the ground below to literally lift your house off the foundation a little bit to allow yourself room to make your fix. Just try not to lift it too much. You don't want to create any more problems instead of fixing the one you currently have. Yeah. Wow.
Did it work?
No, look at this. Removing the little scab board showed me the true nature of what I was working with, a completely crushed rim joist wrapping around the corner of the building. We're going to cut that out with a multi-tool. If you don't have one of those, I highly recommend you get one because they are indispensable in working in tight spaces. Since the house is jacked up and currently sitting on a scab piece of rim joist, I feel safe removing this leftover piece, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really holding any weight anyways. Kind of give you a taste of what I'm seeing right now. I took off this small piece that was sitting right here, and I removed the piece that they had put down on that corner. Since the house is lifted, I can more easily access this rim joist. The thing I'm not sure about is how far back I should cut this rim joist. This part here is pretty weak, but on either side it's actually not as bad, but this is pretty soft, so I might go ahead and cut this one back as well. Then come back with a fresh, longer piece of this pressure-treated 2x6 and then put it all back together. So that's the plan right now. We'll see how it goes. I just want to get rid of much of this rotted wood as possible and still go ahead and let myself have some room to slide in the new piece of subfloor underneath that bottom wall plate. Before I can remove any more material, I thought it best to go ahead and remove some of the nails that was holding the wall assembly down to the floor. That way I could more easily remove any damaged materials I needed to, and hopefully the rim joist would come out a little bit easier. Seeing how damaged this sill plate was and how easily it crumbled whenever I started trying to take it out, I thought it best to go ahead and take a peek under the rest of the house, at least along this side of the wall, to see if I needed to go back even further, maybe 2 or 3 more joists. So I suited up, grabbed my headlamp, and went under the house just to take a look around. The good news is I didn't find any concerning damage as I got further under the house. That really was the worst of it right there at the corner, probably confined within the first 3 to 4 feet. If I had to work in this tight of a space to replace any more of the sill plate and rim joist, it would have taken me a lot longer and been a much more demanding task. Please note that as I'm tearing out this part of the rim joist, I'm not depending on the jack to hold the entire house. I do have blocks underneath the wall in certain locations, just in case the jack fails. I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket or all my house on one jack, because if that falls, then my house has a pretty long ways to go, and that could cause some real damage. So just be smart, make sure that everything is secure, and never put your hand under anything that could potentially crush it. Now this pressure-treated 2x6 with the shoddy adhesive job is my new sill plate. And I put this in 2 pieces because I needed to have some room to hammer it under the existing floor joists that were still in place. It was a tight fit, and I didn't think I could manage getting it all in one piece. After rebuilding the corner and putting in the new rim joist, which apparently I didn't film, I started rebuilding the floor joist. Because of the location of this hole and the clearances trying to get under the house, it was very difficult to maneuver an entire board over to this portion of the house and to get it sitting on both the outside wall and the next over beam. So I ended up sistering it, and I screwed it together to hold it and to sink it close, but don't depend on screws for structural stuff like this where you're using a shear force. You want to use nails. I threw about 12-16 penny nails in this thing, and I think it's going to hold just fine. Now that we're in the home stretch, I'm going to do the shameless YouTube plug saying like and subscribe to the channel if you want to follow this renovation from start to finish. With the new sill plate, rim joist, and our floor joist put back together, we're just going to lift up the house a little bit more than normal with the jack and hammer in this first piece of the new subfloor. I did this in 2 pieces because I thought it'd be easier than trying to get one giant sheet under a corner while still sitting proud of the existing floor. It was annoying enough trying to get the first piece under that I don't know that I would have had the patience if I would have tried to do this in one section. Oh my gosh! This is dumb, but I got the piece in. With the first piece in, the wall was now supported on both sides, so the second piece went in rather simply. I just had to set it down, knock it with the hammer a couple times, and it sank right into place. Then it's just a matter of throwing a few screws down to tie it to the joists, and we're pretty much done. Since the sill plate and rim joist were turning to dust down there, you can actually see the results of some of this work on the outside of the house. There's a paint line where the trim used to sit, and after putting it all back together, you can see now that we've raised the house about ½ an inch on this side. Since we had to cut the nails that tied the walls down to the floor assembly, I got these 5-inch structural screws to tie everything back together, drove it through the bottom plate into the rim joist, and got it all nice and snug. With the floor leveled and repaired, I can now continue drywalling the living room, but that's another video for another time. If you want to see what this floor looked like before I got my hands on it, go ahead and click the link to the video that should be displaying right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.